All right, well, welcome everyone. So excited for you all to be here today. Thank you so much for joining us in our webinar. My name is Shayla Walker. I am the Senior Director of Career Connected Learning with San Joaquin A+. I will be your facilitator today, and I'm joined by my fabulous colleague and boss, Kai Kung, who is the co-CEO of San Joaquin A+. In addition to our amazing panelists today, Louie Heflen, who is the Director of Employee Development with Holt of California. Louie has been at Holt now for 24 years and spending 19 years of service in service management operations before going into training. Currently, he oversees all training operation and manages Holt's technician recruitment programs. Welcome, Louie. Glad to have you on here today. And next is Leticia Robles, who is the president of Pacific Homecare. Pacific Homecare Services is a local Stockton-based agency that provides quality home care to the elderly and disabled. Their mission is to deliver outstanding care while also driving revenue, profitability, and growth. Prior to her time at Pacific Homecare Services, Leticia spent 6 years as vice president of development at Junior Achievement in the Bay Area, where she worked to educate students about workforce readiness, entrepreneurship, and financial literacy through experiential hands-on programs. Welcome, Leticia. We're glad to have you here today. As we transition into our next slide, what is our goal for today's session? Our goal at San Joaquin A+ is we strongly believe that we can create robust local systems to provide work-based learning experiences for a large number of high school students in the near future. In the report we'll discuss today, we share a preview of some new data that shows local employers largely agree and are ready right now to support schools and students in creating opportunities to prepare them for the workforce. The report also identifies some potential logistical and bureaucratic challenges we may encounter along the way. However, as we move forward, it's clear that we need organizations focused on overcoming these barriers and creating quality programs that build buy-in across systems and partnerships. We strongly believe that if we succeed in bringing our schools and employers together, we can significantly improve learning and life outcomes of students within our region. This is why we titled this session of a report Better Together. So we just recently sent out the complete report that you guys can review after the webinar has concluded. I would now at this time like to invite Kai Kung, who is our co-CEO, my boss, to talk about San Joaquin A+, and also talk about the findings, the core findings from this report. Kai?
All right. Thank you so much, Shayla. So before we get into the survey and the focus groups that we conducted this past summer, just a bit of context about A+, our organization. Our vision is, that all young people can do what they love and what they need in the location they want to live. Very simple. We really are invested in the youth in our region, really believe that they are the future of our region. And so that is our mission. The way we do this or try to support this is we work hand in hand with employers and schools to prepare these young people from our valley with the career exposure, skills, and experiences they need to earn family-sustaining incomes by age 26. So as we move into the next slide, I think one of the values we really try to embody as an organization is to always design and refine our programs based on the feedback of those we're trying to serve, right? In the case of our youth workforce program, certainly that means students, educators, and employers, right? So last summer, while we were working with schools to pilot paid summer internships with youth, we engaged local employers across various industries to gather their input on career-connected learning. And while the findings were certainly instrumental in the design of our own program, we're publishing this report today and holding this webinar today because we're hoping that others that are fellow travelers in this work can share in what we're learning. Next slide. So these are the key questions that we posed to local employers via surveys and focus groups. We asked questions just about value proposition for employers. In what ways can our program and programs like it really be valuable to employers and meet their needs? We asked questions around internship structure and preferences. what time of the year, what days of the week, how long, how many hours, what kinds of roles. Those are all questions we pose to employers. We spent a lot of time asking them about their pain points, the challenges, the barriers to participation that employers face in working with youth. And we also asked a lot of questions about skills, and most notably soft skills. We asked employers about the soft skills that they think are most important for our youth to have as they prepare for entry-level positions with our local organizations. We ask questions about how employers prioritize these kinds of soft skills and where they perceive there to be strengths amongst this population of students, and where there are opportunities to build new skills. So those were the questions we posed to employers via surveys and focus groups. And here's what we found as we head into the next slide. First of all, employers universally, I think, believe that it is critical for students to explore careers through internships or paid work experience or opportunities during their educational journeys, right? 100% of the employers that we surveyed and had in focus groups believe this to be the case, right? So resoundingly optimistic about the opportunity for work-based learning opportunities. Second of all, employers are willing to support students through these opportunities because they really see our youth as a talent pipeline for their future workforces. And this is a really exciting data point. I think while employers certainly want to give back to their communities through these efforts and through programs like these, they're really willing to invest their time and resources into youth now because I think they know that these youth represent the future of their organizations. Third, nearly all employers that we engaged were interested in employing a paid intern or apprentice now. And I think for those that weren't, it wasn't because of a lack of interest or a belief in our young people, but rather, some of the barriers and challenges we'll discuss in a few minutes are really significant challenges. And many of the roles that employers envisioned for youth in these internships lead directly to related entry-level positions in their organizations after high school graduation. So I think we at A+ really believe that there have to exist multiple pathways to success for our young people. Young people can continue to go to college after they graduate high school. I think for those that want to go directly to the workforce, there is a pathway here locally, which is really exciting to see. Fourth, I think you see in the slide that the employers we engage represented a cross section of industries. And certainly when you're talking about our valley, that's agriculture, healthcare, education, and the trades. We found, perhaps unsurprisingly so, that there was significant variation across industries in the time of year, the desired time commitments, and the roles that employers would want to hire interns for. So for example, for our wine and ag employers, there's more of a need for student interns during the summer and fall as they head into harvest season. Whereas for our healthcare and education employers, there was less of a pronounced seasonality effect. So more consistent need for interns throughout the course of the year. And I think what this suggests is that there really isn't a one-size-fits-all approach, that an organization like ours can take to meet the needs of our employers, right? And then finally, I think one of the consistent themes we heard from employers was how critical so-called soft skills are, right? And in professional settings, of course, it's not just about what you know, but rather it's also about how you get your work done and how you work with others. And so in terms of soft skills, we found that employers really wanted youth who could have a professional attitude, take responsibility for their actions, and have strong time management skills. So those were our top line findings. As we transition into the next slide, as I mentioned before, while there was incredible appetite for working with students amongst the employers that we engage with, there were undoubtedly significant challenges that many employers face to working with youth in these types of programs. I think what's important to acknowledge is that many of our great local employers are small and medium businesses, all right, that don't have often significant HR operations or even experience in working with youth this age. And so, in terms of sourcing youth screening youth to really assess fit for things like internships. That's a real challenge for a lot of employers, as is just making sure that everything we're doing is adhering to child labor laws in the state of California. When you're talking about high school student population, that's obviously critical. As is the cost and the administrative burden that working with youth interns often represents for our employers, not just in terms of financially the wages that they pay students for these internships, but also the time that employees are making available to mentor, to manage these students, to make sure the youth are having a positive experience. This is not trivial for a lot of employers to work with high school youth. As I mentioned, depending on what industry or size of employer you're talking about, different employers have different needs. And so, a lot of employers that we engaged wondered whether there were organizations like ours that could meet the needs of, multiple employers across the spectrum, across industries, and really wanted to, have a program that offered a great deal of flexibility to meet their needs. And then lastly, I'd say, one of the challenges that employers told us about was just the lack of awareness that there are these kinds of programs available, right? I think a lot of our employers, as we saw on the previous slide, they're ready to work with youth, but they just don't know how to really get engaged and who out there is supporting this kind of work. And indeed, that's part of the reason why we publish this report and why we're holding this webinar today, is just to get the word out, to showcase our amazing employers and just to make more broadly accessible knowledge of these kinds of opportunities. So, great optimism, but also great challenges, I think, that are involved in making sure that, employers, educators, students all have positive experiences when it comes to career-connected learning. So as we head into the next slide, I think, as I mentioned at the outset, these findings were absolutely critical in the design of our own program here at A+. Based on feedback from employers, educators, parents, and students, here's what our vision is for the work ahead. So we will continue to collaborate with schools and employers to provide a range of services centered around hands-on paid internships, but also including opportunities for career exposure, soft skills development, and coaching and networking. Additionally, in response to some of the challenges that employers mentioned, we will also provide a suite of back office services to make things a bit easier for employers, right? Including taking on payroll, workers' compensation, recruitment, onboarding, and various other administrative responsibilities. So I think that's just one example of how we as an organization have translated these great findings from our employers. And I'm hopeful that others that are on this call will be able to take them as well and incorporate them in their own practices as well. So with that, Shayla, I'll hand it back over to you.
Thank you so much, Kai. I appreciate it. I want to mention before we go into our next segment of the panel, if you all have questions during the panel session, or if you had questions during Kai's finding, please feel free to use the chat to ask questions. Our colleagues will be monitoring the chat. And at the end of the session, you'll have an opportunity to get those questions answered. So I just want to make sure I put that out there before we transition into the panel segment of this, which is going to take the bulk of our webinar. All right, so I want to invite Louie Heflen to the conversation. He's going to be our first panelist. And I want to ask the first question to you, Louie, which is on the screen, which is, are there one or two key findings that resonate most with you about the strengths and challenges of providing work-based learning opportunities to youth?
Yeah, there is. Thank you for having me on. We were excited to read the Better Together summary, and I was actually surprised that 3/4 of the employers are wanting to start a program, some kind of paid internship. That's exciting. It's exciting for us. It's part of our recruitment strategy is to have this. But word of caution, there are some barriers to this. The California youth labor laws probably needs a little tweaking, at the legislature in Sacramento to provide these opportunities. And then we need some flexibility at the school district. So this just isn't a summer program. And what I mean by that is that those employers that are wanting to get into this, and maybe have like a fall or spring internship, there has to be some flexibility, like time off away from school. We tried a similar program with the San Joaquin County Office of Education, and there was like no flexibility. It was an IT program to get the students out, except for like holidays or time off or summers. So it's a great program. I think employers are looking forward to this. The days of sifting through your job applications and picking the best of the best is gone, and employers are having to grow their own internally, right, for their positions. So for Holt, California, we have about 350 technicians on staff, and that's our hugest gap. That's our hugest need, our greatest need. So we have, internal programs to build technicians for that. But we're excited. We're hoping we could do this year round for the internship.
Yeah, I appreciate you saying that and highlighting some of the challenges and needs because with folks on the call, hopefully we can advocate and start having more conversations on how we can move the needle forward with getting more school partners engaged and even at the legislation level, what changes we can make.
Mhm.
All right. So, question number 2: Your organization, Holt of California, chose to participate in the Growing Futures Initiative pilot program this past summer. And can you share why you decided to do that and what you think internships can be valuable for both students, or why you think internships can be valuable for students and the industry?
Yeah, for us, this is, like I said, it was built in part of our recruitment strategy. So in having students go through your program, right, are great ambassadors because they go back and they talk about it. If they had a positive internship experience, they're band ambassadors for you. But so what we did was just to not fall into, we're going to have the service managers just have these guys do cleanup, right, or push a broom. The HR manager and myself, we sat down and we built a daily schedule, like a planner. And we went over it with the mentors, we went over it with the service managers, and we kind of had the interns move through different categories so they get kind of a little exposure, of what our business is. We had them work in rental, checking machines in and out with an iPad. We had them working, pulling tags in the parts department in the warehouse, and then we had them working in the shop floor with technicians, while they're rebuilding tractors. So it was an awesome experience. It was great. It was super positive.
And kind of spinning off of that, Louie, was there a particular student you want to highlight and share like their story as far as who you feel like made an impact? Was there a student that you worked with this past summer that kind of like stood out to you that you want to share with the group?
Yeah, so we had one. His name was Brody. And what we did was we tried to do some group tours of our facility before we interviewed. So we had the students come in, and that's the best time for the employers to kind of showcase what we do, right? Because students on the outside, even potential candidates, they may not know what you actually do. So we provided some tours, showed them around, and I actually connected with Brody. He was asking questions. He was engaging. He made eye contact. He was in the front of the pack as we moved through the shop areas. And then at the end of it, he comes up and he shakes my hand, looks me in the eyes, shakes my hand, goes, thank you for your time. So then I'm like, okay. And I didn't remember his name at the time. But then when we went to the high school and we did the interviews, right, I remembered him right away. I'm like, oh, okay. So that kind of stuck out, right? If they'll engage you, if they'll communicate with you, that's part of it. That's a big deal, just engaging. So we had a great time, and we actually tweaked their curriculum midstream, and we had on their calendar, we had some online training, right? So, and I would check in with them every couple weeks, every 2 weeks. I'd go in and check in with them, and they said, hey, is there any chance we could not do the online training, we could have some like in-person training? And I went, oh man, that's a great idea. So we had them come in for one shift, and we had one of our technical trainers and do electrical. We have these, we call them electrical breadboards, right? These little panels, and you can build circuitry. You can put resistance and light bulbs. and you can build it all up. You plug it into the wall and the lights come on. And so they got one shift doing that, kind of getting the intro to foundational electrical. So it's pretty cool.
Yeah, that sounds amazing.
Yeah.
I'm excited. I would want to be a student wanting to do that. So that's exciting. I'm going to transition into question number 3. Okay. What do you believe are critical skills needed for you to be successful and competitive in the workplace?
That's a great question. Um, so we can teach, like here at Holt, California, we work on tractors, right? That's our main objective here. We sell, service, rent tractors. We can teach people, like new people coming in, we can teach you that skill. We have foundational electric, hydraulic powertrains, engines, tier 4 emissions. We just can't teach someone how to work. And what I mean by that is, like, if you can't show up on time, if you can't manage yourself, if you don't have great communication, checking in with your foreman or your supervisor, if you're sick that day and you're going to miss it and you don't call in until you wake up at 11 o'clock, that's a problem, right? So it would be having good communication skills, right? And then that ability to work is kind of ingrained in kids when they're young, right? That's your chore list: take your garbage out, clean your room, make your bed, put your clothes away, that kind of stuff. And we have another program that we have, graduating seniors, they can apply to, and I kind of see it in some of them as well. But that's the biggest thing, is we can teach you how to work on Caterpillar equipment or Kloss or Agco. We just can't teach you how to work. That has to be something fundamentally developed, at youth early, before you get into the workforce. And then communication, that's the second one, just being able to communicate. And it could be, hey, I want you to do steps 1 through 3. If you got any questions, come see me. And then if they can follow that path, right, they do 1, and not skip 2 and jump to 7 or 8. It's to follow that sequence, follow instructions, communicate.
Yeah. Sounds like those soft skills are really critical
Yeah.
in helping students be successful in these type of opportunities early on. So that's good. Thank you for sharing that. And then question number 4, which is, when you look at your industry, how do you see it evolving in the next 5 to 10 years? And what trends do you think will drive this evolution?
So for us in the equipment industry, it's electrification. And we're seeing that a little bit in the automotive, right? And you got Teslas out there and electric cars. Well, eventually we're going to have electric tractors, right? And so the skill level of the technician is like gone tenfold with the internet and technology. So that's where it's for us. We need almost like electricians to work on this. We're going to have here at Holt, we started revamping our facilities to solar, right, to use that renewable energy. But we're also going to have some kind of electric charging station, right? Preferably it's charged off a renewable energy, but it's going to have to go out and charge electric machines. But we're also going to have technicians work on those, right? So that's probably the biggest one we see. And who knows what AI is going to do for
Right.
our industry, right? But over the next 5 to 10 years, right, it's electrification of our equipment and
Yeah.
what's going to happen with that.
I think that's really good that you shared that too, because we have school partners on here. And so it's kind of like you're getting the word out early to our employers, to our school partners, so we can start advertising it in the K through 12 systems as
Yeah,
well. These
absolutely.
are some areas that we need to kind of focus on. So thank you so much for sharing this with us, and your thoughts and insights particularly brought this report to life, and Kai's findings to life, and your honesty about sharing your internship stories. We just really appreciate it, and excited to continue this work with you.
Awesome. Thank you.
Thank you, Louie. I'm going to transition to Miss Leticia, who is the president of Pacific Homecare. Thank you again for joining us today on our panel. I'm going to ask you the first question here, which is, when you look at this report from the perspective of the healthcare industry, what are some of the key insights that jump out for you?
Well, thank you so much, Shayla, and thank you so much for having me on this panel. I
want to commend you, you, Kai, and Dawn for all the work that you're doing in our community. I've always been impressed by A+, San Joaquin A+, and to be part of this program over the past summer was quite an honor. And so thank you very much. So one of the key perspectives or insights that jumped out is that it's something very simple. I wasn't surprised to see when I read Kai's report. I was not surprised to see the outcomes. I think we would be hard pressed to find an industry today that isn't suffering the same challenges of finding a qualified workforce. And so to read that employers are interested, employers are wanting to work with school systems and wanting to work with community, create those community partners, I'm not surprised. Louie mentioned something very key, grow our own. We have this here at Pacific, that's exactly what we say. If we can't find them, we'll have to create them, because the demand for services, the demand in our particular case is astronomical. I cannot find enough individuals to meet the needs of the community. Just to give you a little perspective, I'm part of the healthcare field. However, we don't provide any medical care, but I am part of the continuum of care. We care for the individuals in their homes and what have you. With that being said, having to find the individuals that have the kindness, the responsibility, like Louie mentioned, the honesty that are necessary to work with our clients is key. So getting involved with these partnerships and doing things of this nature is going to be instrumental if we're ever going to be able to achieve all the demand, or to actually meet the demand of our services. And I think you're going to find that other companies in the community are in the same boat, and we all need to work together. So that's really the main take from the findings.
Yeah, absolutely agree with you on that. And I think exposing students as much as we can to these different industries that can lead to other industries that they're interested in going into, I think is really critical as well. So I think laying the groundwork and as much as we can get in students' faces with this is important. So thank you, Leticia. The next question I have for you is healthcare is one of the largest industries for job opportunities in San Joaquin County in the coming years. What do you think it will take to create stronger pathways for high schools into jobs into your sector locally?
Oh, that's a big question. And I wish I had the answer to it. It is one of our largest industries, and the whole healthcare industry throughout the nation is one of the largest and the fastest growing, and the one with the highest need for employees. So it is going to take this level of commitment from the business community, the educational community, and programs like your A+ to come together, have this dialogue, and really iron things out and be very, very honest with one another. I think that there are many ways that we could create these strong pathways, but the key is communication amongst all the partners involved, and really being transparent about, my needs look like this. How can we get it? How could we all work together so that everybody's needs are met? I know Louie talked a little bit about some of the challenges that we could find, like, the legal challenges, the structure. I know, just to provide you with a little perspective, when we were so excited when we were approached about the summer internship program. And in my mind, I thought, oh my goodness, we could have all these kids who just graduated, because for our company, they have to be 18. I can't hire anybody younger than 18. So I was excited to get as many as these young 18-year-olds who had an interest in the healthcare industry. And because we are a very simple way to get involved one-on-one with a client, with a patient, or what have you. And so in my mind, let's expose them. Let's let them see what it's like to do that. And so in my mind, I was thinking 20, 30 students. And then there was some structure that I had to follow. And there was guidelines that I had to follow. And there were all these other things that it dwindled in my mind from the 20 to 30 to 1. And so if we could get past challenges like that, we would be, as a community, further along in so many ways. So that's just a little bit of my insight, and what I think it will take to create these strong pathways is strong communication and really working well with one another.
Yeah, and it sounds like getting rid of that red tape too.
A little
bit.
I understand that we have to start somewhere, and that we have to have some kind of parameters. But usually, and maybe I also had, well, we had to adjust our program, but if there could be a little more give and take on adjusting, that would be, I think it'd be beneficial for everyone if we just do a little more adjusting on both ends. But yes, the red tape would be good.
And Leticia, I know you didn't get a chance to share this, but I wanted to highlight your student who I believe is still working at your agency even after the summer internship program has concluded. Do you want to share like how that student is doing? I think that's just such a huge success story for our agency as well as your agency.
Yes. Well, like I mentioned, we had one student that participated in this over the summer, and just to give you a little perspective, so we did tweak the program for that student, and I had a manager who managed him, very specific, was responsible for ensuring that student had a positive, very positive, and was fully prepared to meet the challenges of the internship. So he was given some office duty work and was also assigned a family to work with. And so he would go to their home and work one-on-one with their child. But for that, we needed to do the background check, and we needed different things that we normally do regardless. He did so great, and the family was so pleased with him that even beyond the internship, then we hired him on as our care provider, continues to work with the family even after the program is over, which this was my initial hope, was that these kids who probably have never even heard of what home care is, have no idea what respite is, but they were given if they are given the opportunity to see, wow, this is what it means to care for somebody. And, maybe I do want to go on to the medical field because this makes me feel good. It's such a great opportunity. So yes, we're very happy that he's still with us. I have not, we even invited him to a staff meeting. So he had a big, a well-rounded education and experience with us. But I haven't talked to him since the summer program ended. He's in Modesto, I'm in Stockton. But I would be curious to just have a conversation with him and learn more about what's his perspective. In fact, maybe just FYI, just a little idea, maybe having a student as a panelist would be a great idea to addition to this.
I totally agree. I'm always about the student voice driving it home. So thank you so much, Leticia. I have one last question for you. I know I'm just trying to manage the time. I could be long.
Yes.
So what do you think schools specifically can do to make it easier to partner with organizations like yours and other healthcare focused job pathways?
Well, I'm going to be very honest. I have not had the opportunity to work one-on-one with a school. I do work with the adult school of ed, so that may be a little different. But I will tell you that in working with them, they were very open to an idea that I had. I think this was about 4 years ago. We've had this partnership where I started to realize, oh my gosh, there's not enough people out there, and I need to create individuals so that they have the skill set that I need, that I look for. And so I talked to the adult school of ed and pitched an idea of, what if I created a curriculum with an instructor of yours, one of our trainers, and one of our trainers, and we create this curriculum where we teach your students how to do the work of a home care aide and what have you. At the end of the 6 weeks, then they could go through the interview process, and we could hire them, or if they want to work for us, or we even had a job fair at the end of the very first 6 weeks session. And so we created this. They were so open to the idea. Now I understand that these are adults, that they're older, kids and so forth, or students. But the fact that they were willing to work with us, they were willing to listen to me, they were willing to do this. Here we are 4 years later, and it's a very successful partnership. And other adult schools want to, and actually 2 others have duplicated the partnership, and others always want to know more about it. But it does take willingness on both sides. With that being said, I've never worked with, high school or anything like that. So I couldn't really be specific on what they can do, because I don't really know the current situation.
But I like how you kind of created some innovation and creativity to meeting the need for your industry, and went to the source. So hopefully San Joaquin A+ can be a bridge to help with the high school functions for you moving forward in the future. So thank you
Love that.
so much, Leticia. We really appreciate your insight and knowledge about specifically to the healthcare industry, and even sharing, Louie, you both sharing your student stories and the success you had with their internship this summer. We're really excited to continue partnering with you. So thank you. We're going to transition now. We are coming to an end to our panel and to our webinar. We hope that you got fed. I know I got fed. I hope you got fed, because this is wonderful. And so what are some next steps for you all? How can you partner with San Joaquin A+? Well, if you're an employer, we encourage you to go on our website and click on the internship tab that we have at the top and select employer. We have an employer interest form that you can complete if you would like to partner with us on an internship or creating an apprenticeship structure for your organization this summer. We are now looking for employers to place high school students into an experience this summer. So if you're interested, please visit our website. In addition, if we're rolling out also soft skills frameworks for schools. So if you're a school partner interested in learning about our soft skills framework we're integrating into schools, please also feel free to visit our website as well and click on internships. You're going to click on the school tab to get more information. Now, if you can't wait past this webinar and you're like, oh, I need to get a hold of Shayla right away because I want to start this now, please feel free to email me. My email is at the bottom of this screen right here. So feel free to email me directly. I will go visit you. I will go have coffee with you, lunch, to kind of create and set something up so we can make sure our youth are inside your organization with an internship this summer. But with that, we appreciate you joining this webinar. We're so excited and we look forward to partnering with your organization in the future. We hope that this was very helpful to you. And I see that we have some questions in the chat. So we want to make sure that we get to those questions before this webinar is over. So I'm going to transition, and Kai, I don't know if you want to help me with answering some of the questions in the chat. And panelists as well, you feel free to chime in. But our first question is about how many employers are you all hoping to have come this summer?
Yeah, oh, go ahead. Well, I think we got another question from Rich about how many students are involved in these internships. So I think to answer both of these questions, so we started piloting this past summer with great employer partners like Leticia and Louie. So we started with 7 youth. We partnered with 5 employers last summer. I think we certainly want to make more of these opportunities available to more youth. So I think we're looking in the neighborhood of 20, 25 employers this summer. We hope to grow the number of opportunities that are available to students. I think what I hope you all saw from Louie and Leticia during the webinar was I think an alignment around really making sure that our youth have positive experiences, right? And those are the kinds of employer partners that we are really interested in partnering with, right? That really take the time to think about what a meaningful summer internship experience looks like for youth, and then what requisite support is needed on the part of the employer partners to ensure that happens, right? So though I think we're looking for great partners like Pacific Homecare and Holt. And so if you are interested, please do let Shayla know. I'd also say for our employer partners that aren't quite there yet, ready to commit to an intern this summer, there are other ways that you all can sort of dip your toe in the water. There are job shadowing tours that we can arrange. Louie mentioned that was a really positive experience both for him and for the students. There are ways that we can organize employers to come into schools and classrooms just to tell students more about what their industries are like and what professions in their industries are like. So there are a number of ways for employers to get involved. Regardless of where you are on that spectrum, feel free to reach out to Shayla. But I think what we are very intentional and deliberate about doing is growing with quality and not sacrificing quality at the expense of quantity. And so we will continue to grow with that goal in mind, but we're looking for a number of employer partners this coming summer.
Perfect. Thank you. And then I think one thing you didn't mention was doing presentations too. We're doing a lunch and learn series as well. If you're an employer who wants to come to a school site during a lunch to share information about your organization or industry, we're kicking that off next month. So if you're interested, please email me. Okay, the last question that we have, and feel free to keep them coming, folks, if you have more questions. Does San Joaquin A+ work with a lobbyist that could assist with the red tape at the state and federal level?
Yeah, appreciate the question, Janine. We're wonderful partners over at the County Office of Education. Janine, to answer your question, we don't have a lobbyist. I'd say, I'll say a couple of things in response to your question, Janine. One, I think that's why it's so important for our region to really grow this program with scale and other programs like it, right? I think the state of California, from what I've seen, is very interested in pathways work. They are interested in youth workforce development. And I think what they need are innovators out there who are doing this work to tell them how they can make it easier, right? To Leticia's point. And I think that's what our goal should be as a region is, as we make more of these opportunities available to more students, we become much more of a compelling voice collectively. And by collectively, I mean nonprofits, employers, educators, schools. We can become a meaningful voice in Sacramento to advocate for policy change. And so that's one thing I'll say in response to your question, Janine. I think the other thing I'll say is, I think for our organization, the sort of staffing agency model that we've employed, where we are serving as the employer of record, taking care of payroll, sometimes alleviates some of that red tape when it comes to child labor laws, and having our organization serve as sort of the intermediary that bridges schools, students, and employers. And so to the extent that the employers on this call or the schools on this call find that kind of arrangement advantageous, certainly reach out to us. But I think, all in all, what we're trying to do here is to become a proof point and an exemplar, right, and a lighthouse for the rest of the state. And if we are successful in doing that, we'll bring opportunities to kids, and we are strengthening our own voice and our influence in Sacramento.
Beautiful response, Kai. Thank you so much. At this time, is there any other questions, any last minute questions that anyone has? If not, I'm going to thank Kai Kung, who's our co-CEO, Louie Heflen, and Leticia Robles for being on this call, and the San Joaquin A+ team. We appreciate you all for joining us on our webinar. We hope you have a fantastic day, and we look forward to partnering with you in the future. Thank you so much, everyone.